All right, ancient drug use in the ancient world. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to go into this article, and I want to go into the book called On Route to Global Occupation. Anyway, man, call Allah Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS. To you, I say Shalom and Shalom unto the hopeful elect. Kwame Yashala and Abad Babal. Alright, so link will be in the description. It's from Hellenic Museum, hellenic.org.au. And it says ritual and religious drug use in ancient Greece. And I'm going to start off by reading, hey man, nothing is new under the sun. Start off with that. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So, hey, you see a lot of modern day drug use. Hey, it happened today in these modern times, and it happened back then. People were using drugs back then, and they're still using drugs today. And that's done on all levels, man. From the average everyday person walking about, to the elites, to the witches and warlocks. They're all using drugs. And that played out the same way back then, man. You had the rulers, the governors, the leaders. You had witches. You had everyday citizens. They were all getting high. And, you know, that was to put them in an altered state. Whether it was an altered state of bliss, or whether it was for more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on the left-hand side. They were using drugs. Because that's what drugs do. Drugs put you in an altered state. Okay, and it opens up your mind to demons. So that's what you see taking place today, and that's what happened back then. I got this. It's Jeremiah chapter 6 verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Yeah, so the old paths come out of the scriptures, going back to the law and to the testimony. And that's the good way of doing things, and that's the way we're supposed to walk. And go back to the law and to the testimony. The testimony is the examples and ensamples that the men of the Lord have shown, starting with Yahushai. And there is a way to open up your mind. There's a way to get into an altered state, but that's the right way of doing things. Okay, there's the right way, and then there's the left way. And you don't want to walk in the left way. And today what we're talking about is the left way. But the right way of doing things is going back to the accounts of Daniel and also Ezra's. Because Ezra's and Daniel, they had a certain way to stay in the Spirit and to get the Spirit on them. And that's why the Lord gave them dreams and visions. You know, the way Ezra's got the dream, or got the vision, which is really like a trance he got into, right? He had to do certain things. He had to be obedient. He had to eat flowers. He had to eat certain vegetables and things of that nature to have the Spirit on him. You see, that's the righteous way to get into a good vibe or a good altered state, right? Because you're not supposed to defile your temple when you're dealing with the Lord. Matter of fact, let me get this. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse, I'll start at 18. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. You know, fornication, you know, you being dirty, man. You physically fornicating and also spiritually fornicating, you know, going into idolatry, sinning, going off. Right, and that includes you using drugs, you know. Well, let me just get something here. Fornication is porneia, illicit sexual intercourse, adultery, fornication, homosexuality, lesbian intercourse with animals, etc. Right, metaphorically, the worship of idols, of the defilement of idolatry as incurred by eating the sacrifices offered to idols. That too, and also when you worship different idols and you worship different gods, you have to smoke up. Right, you have to do drugs, right? So you're not supposed to do that. Okay. So, anyways, verse 19. What know ye not that your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of the Most High, and ye are not your own? For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify the Most High in your body and in your spirit, which are the Most High. That's right. So, you're not supposed to defile your temple, man. So the Lord, when he's dealing with you, he doesn't want you to defile your temple. You're not supposed to do drugs. You're not supposed to use drugs to put you in an altered state. You're not supposed to be eating abominable foods, right? So you're supposed to be eating clean foods and doing righteous things so the Lord can deal with you. Okay, so I just want to bring that out. Just going back to this precept, especially focusing on the old past. When you look at these devils, these people in the world, especially the elites and these witches and warlocks, they're actually going back to the old past. The old past on the left. The witches of today, the elites of today, they're studying the ancient mystics, and that's why they have tapped into drugs, because they're studying the things of the past. So the elites are studying the old past, and the men of the Lord today, we're studying the old past on the right hand side. So yeah, man, just keep that in mind. Matter of fact, let me get this. This is Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. That's right. So you're supposed to go to the old writings. You're supposed to go into the scriptures. That was written for our learning, and it applies to the time that we're living in. Okay, so we're supposed to go back and study, man. Scripture says, study to show thyself approved. Hey, and on the left, that's what these elites are doing, man. Man, they've studied the scriptures, and they studied the ancient writings of the ancient mystics that lived in those ancient kingdoms, and they're using that knowledge for wickedness. Anyways, it says that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. That's right. And you know why it says we're written aforetime, we're written for our learning, is because we are those same people back then coming back today, playing out prophecy. So that's why when you read these scriptures, you get jump started, and then the Spirit hits you, and then you're able to learn very, very fast. Like things just come easy to you when reading the scriptures, because you were back then probably writing the scriptures or performing the righteous acts back then. Right? And that applies to these devils, man. That's why it's so easy for them to do wickedness. That's why it's so easy for them to just use drugs and feel a certain way, to do and to practice all this spiritual wickedness, because those are the same people coming back. They were doing that back then, and they're doing it now. So yeah, this is a reincarnation scripture. All right. So let me just go into this. Now, let me just actually talk about this first. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 24. This is the Lord commanding Ezra, right? This is so he can get the dream, or the vision, I mean. I'll start at verse 23. Nevertheless, if thou wilt cease yet 7 days more, but thou shalt not fast in them. Okay? But go into a field of flowers, where no house is builded, and eat only the flowers of the field. Taste no flesh, drink no wine, but eat flowers only, and pray unto the highest continually. Then will I come and talk with thee. Right? And that's you displaying your obedience. Now, we know the Lord can obviously just open up your mind, but he wants to see you work for it. That's why Samuel told King Saul, obedience is better than sacrifice. It's not about how much you can sacrifice, it's your obedience. The Lord is just doing this to test your faith, to make you show obedience, and really to work for things so you can appreciate it more. But while he's doing this, this is all righteous, because he's not defiling himself. He's eating clean things. Right? And this is not drugs. This is not going to alter his state of mind. Right? It's just to really purge him. Okay, and to keep him clean, so the Lord can deal with him. Right? So anyways, verse 25, and pray unto the highest continually, then will I come and talk with thee. So I went my way into the field which is called Ardath, like as he commanded me. And there I sat among the flowers, and did eat of the herbs of the field, and the meat of the same satisfied me. So it wasn't just flowers, it's probably the same food that Daniel was eating. In Daniel, I believe the first chapter, I have it pulled up here, because it was probably pulse, right? And when you go into the scriptures, it talks about meat. Which meat can be like herbs and different seed, different plants, and etc. So this is Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, and it says, "And the Most High said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to every thing that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat." And it was so. So it probably just wasn't flowers, because it said meat, there was probably different herbs too, right? So from reading this and going back to the different scriptures, going into what meat is, it could be herbs as well, not just flowers. But that is kind of trivial. Some say it was flowers. I'm going into what scholars say, because I was checking it out. Some say flowers, some say also different herbs too, right? But yeah, he had to do these things so the Spirit can get on him. Now this is Daniel chapter 1 verse 12. It says, I'll start at 11. "Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants." There you go. All right, so let's look at that word pulse. He didn't want to eat the king's meat. He didn't want to eat all that abominable food. He was going back to the paleo diet. Right? So that's the dietary law. So in order for the Lord to deal with you, you have to be eating properly. You have to be eating clean foods. So vegetables is sown. So they call it vegetables, right? That's what they say. So could have been what we read in Genesis, the first chapter, in the 29th verse on down. Going into herbs, veggies, probably beans, grains, and stuff like that. All right. So anyways, man, if you want the Spirit to come on you, you have to do certain things for the Lord. So this is the right way of doing things, because we read it in Jeremiah 6 and 16. See and ask for the old paths, right? And you see the paths the two prophets took, very similar, right? Very similar. Going back to the herbs, going back to the dietary law. So yeah, man, there's certain specific things that you have to do to get the Spirit on you. But remember, you're not defiling yourself like how these witches and warlocks on the left do. They defile themselves, because you can't offer up a corruptible thing onto the Lord. Corrupt thing, right? Thing that's corrupting. Okay, so this is Malachi chapter 1 verse 14. "But cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrificeth unto the Lord a corrupt thing." And aren't we putting our bodies out there as a living sacrifice? Aren't we? So we're offering up ourselves, right? We're sacrificing certain things so the Lord can actually deal with us. So anyways, it says, "And sacrificeth unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith the Lord Yahweh of armies, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." There you go. So yeah, man, you're not supposed to offer up a corrupt thing. And a corrupt thing could be you using drugs and putting yourself into an altered state. The Lord ain't dealing with you. Hey man, if you're in this truth, man, you shouldn't be using drugs. You shouldn't be smoking weed. You shouldn't be inhaling certain things. You shouldn't be eating shrooms. You shouldn't be eating edibles. Just keep it simple, man. You can drink a bit, but even drinking, man, it comes to a point where you gotta stop. Can't be drinking all the goddamn time, because when you drink too, that puts you in an altered state. Because those people on the left, those witches and warlocks, they get drunk and then they participate in orgies and stuff, right? So you can't even drink too much. You gotta be, you gotta show moderation, and you gotta restrain from drinking too much. Wine, woman, and song too. Gotta be careful about that. All right. So here you go. All right. So that's all I wanted from there. Let's go to the reading. It says, ritual and religious drug use in ancient Greece. The presence of drugs in human civilization dates back at least to the Neolithic period, with opium poppy seeds evident in Spain from before 4000 BCE. And, they use opium and poppy seeds today. That's where you get your heroin. You get opium. People smoke opium. Right. So, hey, man, these things existed back then. Okay, cannabis dates back. Cannabis is marijuana, weed. Dates back to at least 3500 BCE and was used not only for its intoxicating properties, but also for medicinal and practical purposes. The usage of various drugs under the umbrella of religion in the ancient world is slightly more contentious, particularly in the case of ancient Greece. Explicit usage is not always directly referred to in ancient texts, and what evidence can be gleaned comes from iconography, artifacts, and botanical probability. The topic is a tantalizing one. Often modern representations, stories, and reimaginings of ancient Greek religion present it as mysterious, fantastical, and titillating. Add in the probability that the ancients also dabbled into drugs during their rituals, and you get a provocative image. Anyways, the wand in her hand too. Damn demon. But it says alcohol was present in both daily and religious events in the ancient world, and more potent drugs like opium and cannabis were understood for their medicinal and narcotic purposes. These are the same drugs that people use today. But what evidence is there for the use of narcotics specifically in the ritual and religious sphere? All right, here we go. The ancient beverage kykeon primarily consisted of water and barley, alongside other ingredients depending on which surviving description you consult. It is referenced in early Greek poems, including the Iliad and Odyssey, and would have been drunk by all social tiers. All right, so it was drunk by everybody. Everybody partook in this. So high level to low level, rich man, poor man, and that's what we see. Everybody smokes weed. Everybody in the world smokes weed. George Bush smokes weed. They show you that in Harold and Kumar. I know that's a movie, but it's a well-known fact that these politicians, they use drugs. I remember I did a video, I think it was a couple years ago, going into how there was cocaine found in the White House, man. A lot of drugs. Boats and hoes. According to Will Ferrell. Boats and hoes, Step Brothers. Boats and hoes. But yeah, man, people get high. There's just something to do here. Kykeon is best known, however, for being consumed as part of the rites that made up the Eleusinian mysteries. It is thought that the Eleusinian kykeon had a psychoactive ingredient that allowed participants to enter an altered state of mind during the rites to facilitate communication and understanding with the gods. The commonly hypothesized psychoactive agent is ergot, a type of fungus that grows on barley and other cereal grains, that, if ingested, causes pain, hallucinations, and convulsions. Not fun. It does, however, contain an alkaloid, a base, or a compound that is the forerunner to LSD. So what is LSD? LSD, also known as lysergic acid diethylamide, is a psychedelic drug that can cause hallucinations and alter thoughts and emotions. It's considered a soft drug, but it's still unsafe. Let's look at the effects. LSD can cause visual and auditory hallucinations. It can cause mystical, spiritual, or religious experiences. It can cause acute panic reactions, psychotic crisis, or crises, and flashbacks. Yeah, man, you get bugged out. Start losing your mind, man. All right, so it says LSD was initially studied for its potential benefits, but subsequent data proved less promising. All right, so there you go. You can read it. Okay, you can read it yourself. Go look it up. So they had LSD back then, and they have it today. Right. So this is LSD 2.0 that we have. This is LSD 1.0, which is ergot. All right, I'm gonna come back to this. I'm gonna come back to this one, but let me go into the book now. So this is page 70 of En Route to Global Occupation, chapter 4. It says they do eventually discover that they are practicing occultism. However, and that's going into the New Age movement. Okay? By then, they have become so hooked on their new beliefs and practices that they are often unwilling to turn around and go back. The occult is seductive and incredibly addictive, possibly as much as or more than mind-altering drugs. Perhaps the most addictive and dangerous aspect of occultism is entering into or inducing an altered state of consciousness. I found that achieving altered states was one of the chief unifying factors among New Agers. It says some people who go into altered or trance states do not have a significant experience. For some time, others have occult experiences on the very first try. These phenomena include such things as out-of-body travel, also referred to by New Agers as astral projection, or space travel. True. And you notice NASA, man. I'm going to go into NASA. Which really just means deception, man. They always talk about space travel. In fact, in order for you to be a top astronaut, you have to be a 33rd degree Mason. So you know what that means. They're all about the occult. That whole space travel thing that they're talking about. You know what they're really getting into. It's really going into the left-hand side. It's not just about exploration. It's about tapping into the left. So it says use of hypnosis to travel back into their past lives. Past life regression. Distinct visions about future events. Forms of divination or direct interaction with spirit beings, usually referred to as spirit guides or simply guides. Going into an altered state is extremely dangerous, and we're not supposed to deal with anybody like that or be like this, because the scripture says we're not supposed to have familiar spirits on us, and we're not supposed to deal with people who have familiar spirits. The Lord has given us a prophet, a seer, right? And he's inspired by the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai, which is on the right. Right? And he's not defiled, man. Actually, you know what? Let me get a couple precepts. I think I have it. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and 15. 3 and 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High and is possible for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Okay? All right, let me see. See if I can find it here. If I can find it here. I know there was an account. Hold on. Yeah, I think it's this. Here we go. Yeah, this is what I want to get into. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 10. It says, there shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or that uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. There you go. In order for you to have familiar spirits on you too, like to get them spirits, you have to be in an altered state. So, these nations, they were doing that back then, man. They were into heavy drug use. Or a wizard or a necromancer, for all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh, and because of these abominations, Yahweh thy power doth drove them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh Bashem Yahushai thy power. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai thy power hath not suffered thee so to do. Yeah, why? Why is that? Because the Lord said, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. That's found in the book of Exodus. Right? So he doesn't want you to be a witch. You actually have to put a witch to death. So he doesn't suffer those things, and the Lord doesn't tolerate bad behavior. He doesn't tolerate things on the left-hand side. Verse 15, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai thy power will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken. So you have to listen to a prophet. And what does a prophet do? They speak according to the law and to the testimony. Okay? And they're given inspiration that come out of these scriptures, man. Just like what Adam got. He got that inspiration, man. Back in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7 on down, man. Got the breath of life on him. Now he got the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and he's able to go into the book. And he has all that inspiration. He gets dreams and visions, and now he relays the message onto you. So you got to really listen to the prophets that the Lord has set up. You got to listen to them. Jeremiah 28:8. That precept comes to mind. All right, so that's all I want from here. That's all I want. Now, let's go back into, just some more information. The crack, that's when it came about, 1980s. Okay, crack cocaine became a major epidemic in the United States. Crack was more pure than street powder cocaine and was sold at a lower price. Yeah, that's why so much people were hooked on it, because it was cheaper. That's insane, man. And a lot of Jake, man, was making crack in the microwave. 50 Cent rapped about that in Hustler's Ambition. Cook crack in the microwave, man. You can get more. You can get more usage if you add baking soda to it. You can make it stretch if you put baking soda in. All them rappers and stuff talk about that. Cookie Money and all those guys, man. You had Master P with the UPS truck going into the song called Cookie Money, going into crack, man. Yeah, he had a dirty line. He's like, every day I go to the church house and pray for the crack babies, because without their mama, I couldn't get the white Mercedes, man. Hey, man, you had a lot of our people selling crack, man. Dangerous. Remember that. That's crazy, man. Anyways, man, let's go back here. So, yeah, let's move on. Let's go into here. It says verse or page 72. It says, something else I discovered while researching this subject was that mind-altering drugs have been used for thousands of years to accomplish the same purpose of inducing altered states. In fact, author Neville Dury contends that the philosophers of ancient Greece were known to use a drug very similar to LSD to place themselves into trances. See, so this is what we just read, which backs that up. This drug was made from the ergot that grew on the cereal crops in nearby fields and was frequently used before initiates partook in the occult rituals of the Greek mysteries. Some of the philosophers were particularly heavy into the occult and drugs and had been initiated into the mysteries of the Eleusis. So that's what we just read. So this is just backing that up. It is no coincidence that the use of drugs and the practice of occultism in this country exploded at the same time during the 1960s. The two go hand in hand. Mind-altering drugs such as LSD and heroin are merely the lazy man's way of achieving an altered state or taking a trip, which is really an occult experience. Yeah, but I just want to say, but it really, started to reach its peak, and it started to get very, very high in the 1980s. Don't get me wrong, drugs was always here, but when it hit the 1980s, when this whole New Ageism came about during that time, then that's when it started to get worse. right? You had neighborhoods being destroyed, going into the crack epidemic, going into cocaine, people just getting murdered left and right, people ODing all the time, man. That's crazy. But yeah, it started to explode in the 60s, but when it hit the 80s, man, that's when it reached its peak. That was crazy, man. It started to reach its peak, and it started to reach new levels. So yeah, it started to skyrocket from the 1980s. It started to get there. But anyways, it says this is only one of the reasons why drugs are so addictive. I know of one person who gave up drugs after finding out that he could have the same experiences by practicing occult meditation. It was less expensive and less damaging to his body, so he believed. Yeah, man, they go hand in hand. Drug use and the occult go hand in hand. And that's what I wanted to bring out from here. Let me see if I have any other precepts. Let me see here. I was just going to go into Paul, the visions he had. This is when the Spirit was on him. Because he doesn't know if he was in the body or out of the body. But this is the right way of doing things. When the Spirit of the Lord is on you, when you're on the right-hand side, when you're doing the right things, when you're not defiled, the Lord can put you in a state as well. Right? The Lord can do it to his prophets, and then you have the people on the left, they're doing their thing with Satan. So anyway, I might as well just read it. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I'll come to visions and revelations of the Lord. I knew a man in Yahushua above 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, or whether out of the body I cannot tell. The Most High knoweth. Such and one caught up to the third heaven. That's right, he was in that spirit realm. And I knew such a man, whether in body or out of the body, I cannot tell. The Most High knoweth. Astral protection, having an outer body of experience. He didn't really know that. He couldn't tell. So these things were happening back then. All right, these things were happening back then, and it's happening today. It might happen to you, brothers. You might get revealed certain things, certain things that are unspeakable. But you gotta just keep that to yourself. You might see things that are not written in the book, right? But you can't talk about it. So anyways, it says here, verse 4, how that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which it is not lawful for a man to utter. Right? Because, if you utter those words, man, you can get bugged out, or you can bug other people out. The Lord doesn't want that to be revealed, first and foremost. Alright, so just wanted to talk about that. This is him being in an altered state. This is him getting visions. And the Spirit is on you. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, this one. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. True. And you got to be sober in the spirit and sober in the flesh. So your mind is not supposed to be altered, not supposed to be in an altered state on the left hand side, because that's when the devil will come in. And we read it in the book. Talks about it right here. Some people who go into an altered or trance state do not have a significant experience. For some time, others have occult experiences on the very first try. These phenomena include such things as out-of-body travel, also referred to by New Agers as astral projection, use of hypnosis to travel back into their past lives. And it says here, going into an altered state is extremely dangerous. All right. Okay, so it says here, what few people realize is that going into an altered state could give Satan a license to influence our thinking. It is possible that these altered states break down our defense mechanism. That's right. All right. So you're not supposed to be in that state. So Satan is a devouring lion. I forgot to highlight that. So yeah, you gotta stay sober. This is Galatians chapter 5, verse 20. Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. So you're not supposed to be involved with idolatry and witchcraft and all these things. When we just read, witches, warlocks, people who are into idolatry, they use drugs, man. So you shouldn't be using drugs, man. You're not going to inherit the kingdom if you're doing drugs. Like I said, man, brothers, if you're in this truth, you shouldn't be smoking weed. You shouldn't be doing shrooms, all right? If you're doing those things and you're in the truth, you're not on a level, bro. You got problems, man. If you're doing that in this truth, and you shouldn't be trusted either. All right? But hey, we all make mistakes, but you shouldn't be doing those things. All right? You shouldn't be doing those things. Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire. Lake of fire? No, I'm sorry. In part, the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. That's right, man. So you're going to eat a missile. You're going to get burnt up. Sorcerers are heavily into drugs, like smoking their weed and like injecting themselves with coke. Man, look at Aleister Crowley, man. That guy was a drug addict. Go into the writings of Aleister Crowley, or just watch a documentary about him on YouTube. You can find it. That guy was a high-level dude, man. He was a high-level guy in the occult during his time. And people today, they look up to him. It's a well-known fact that he was into heavy drugs. And he said that it put him into an altered state, and it got him closer to certain demons, and he got more knowledge on the left. So they love drugs. Alright, anyway, let's get it here. It says, Revelation chapter 9 and 20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the work of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their theft. And that's talking about the elites that survived the destruction. These guys are still thinking about doing drugs and worshiping devils. These are the guys that think they got away. But hey, man, you're going to pay. You're going to pay, man. You're going to be thrown into slavery. Okay? So even when all hell breaks loose, man, you're still going to have these devils. You're still going to be in that mindset of worshiping devils and getting high. Anyways, it says, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That's right. So the heart is talking about your mind. So how do you keep your heart right? Well, first of all, stop doing drugs. Don't do drugs. All right? You got to pray, meditate upon the Lord's precepts. Fast, pray. I already said that, right? Partake in the high holy days. Practice the Shabbat. Yeah, man, that's how you got to protect your mind, and you got to call upon the name of Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai. Ultimately, the Lord is going to seal you in your mind with the Thabah. Ultimately. Actually, let me get that. Ezekiel 9 and 4. Because the Lord is the one that ultimately keeps your mind. So Ezekiel chapter 9 and 4. And Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they begin at the ancient men which were before the house. So yeah, man, going into that tawa, which is the mark of exemption. The Lord is the one that really keeps you from getting destroyed. He's going to protect your mind. That's why the elect is not going to be deceived. They're going to be protected. Alright, so anyways, man, I hope this was edifying. Until next time. I'm not going to go into the next part. I don't think I need to. Maybe I'll make a part 2, probably, Lord willing. But just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakha HaChadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of GMS. To you I say Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful act. Kwame Ashala and Abba Babal. Shalom.